Turn up your volume. because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. 8.6 beer. Intense by nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and we're in the second intermission of the game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Nashville Predators. Of course, in Nashville, the Canadiens on this extended road trip, which comes to an end after tonight's game because they'll be back in a couple of days playing host to the New York Rangers. The Canadiens are down by a score of 5-2. And the Connor Bedard watch is officially on among Habs Nation. I've been talking about it actually for a couple of years, the Connor Bedard watch. And everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people were telling me that I'm a loser and I have a defeatist attitude and I have a loser attitude and this and that and Connor Bedard and who cares? And you know what? And I was even getting on YouTube Live, Mike telling me, yeah, but he scored 7 points, but it was versus a garbage team. Yeah, but he scored 6 points, but it was versus a garbage team. Let him do it versus a good team, Mike was saying. And I was like, Mike, did somebody else score 7 points versus this bad team? Did somebody else score 6 points versus this bad team? So then what happens? He goes out and he's a star versus Sweden. And then he goes out and he's a star versus Slovakia, the way he was last night. Scoring a couple of goals on the night, including the winner in overtime where he went around three guys like they weren't even there. And the Connor Bedard watch is officially on. And I think I know one guy who's on the same page as me that it's worth it to be terrible for the rest of the year to give yourselves as good a shot as any to try and win the lottery and draft them. Oh, by the way, another one of those things that I'm getting is that, there's no way that Bettman's going to make Connor Bedard go to Montreal. Why? Why not? I mean, I don't get it. Did he not make Connor McDavid go to Edmonton, or like what's the point here? I don't get it. Is Edmonton a much better hockey market than Montreal? Oh, Montreal can't win the draft lottery 2 years in a row. Why? Edmonton didn't win it 3 years in a row. It's not possible. So what? Because you don't like your chances of winning it, they're better off what? Winning games and finishing 21st or 22nd in the league? By the way, as it stands right now at this very minute, the Montreal Canadiens are 27th out of 32 teams in the National Hockey League. 2 points up on the Arizona Coyotes, who are in 28th, and Arizona has a game in hand. And as I told you before the Canadiens went on this road trip, that when all would be said and done, as a matter of fact, even including the game when they come back versus the Rangers, that when that game was going to be over, the Canadiens were going to be in 27th, maybe 28th spot. And so I'm not always right, but when I am, I'm definitely going to tell you. And this time, I was right. It is the Sick Podcast, brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. If you ship commercial freight and want to impress your boss with how much money you can save, get in touch with the logistics professionals at Energy Transportation Group. Email them at sick@shipenergy.com or visit their website at shipenergy.com. Also brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And if you don't want Connor Bedard, maybe you've been drinking too many of these. Lacage, if the last time you went to Lacage was when the Habs had a player like Connor Bedard, it's time you go back to Lacage because the menu is going to surprise you. All right, joining me right now, he's been on before from BPM Sport 91.9 on your FM dial out of Montreal. Max Van Houtte, bonsoir, mon ami. Comment ça va, mon chum?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And you got yourself a heavy-duty microphone there. Wow, look at that mic that you got. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's brought to you by BPM Sports. So there are the perks of working at a professional radio station.
Okay. Oh, very nice. Very nice. All right. So the Canadians are down by a score of 5-2. And, we will talk about this game, but I know we're going to Connor Bedard in just a minute here.
Will.
But in period number 1, it's Joel Edmundson with a penalty. Ekholm's wrist shot is deflected by Cody Glass. And Nashville goes up by a score of 1-0. Barron gets caught at 2-on-1. Forsberg passed to Sissons. Edmundson tries to slide to cut it off. He cannot get to it. It's 2-0 for Nashville. And then Brendan Gallagher goes to the penalty box for high sticking. Ekholm on from the point with a big shot deflected by Glass who was in behind Justin Barron. He makes it 3-0. Cole Caulfield intercepts a puck, beats Forsberg in a foot race, goes to his backhand, and makes it 3-1. So that was 3 straight goals for Cole Caulfield because, of course, he scored both versus the Washington Capitals the game before this one. And in period number 2, Drouin to Anderson from the left wing. His wrist shot went right through UC Saros to narrow the lead to 3-2. But Nashville was able to bounce back with 2 goals. Trenton a pass to Novak. It was a bang-bang play. He makes it 4-2. A Niederreiter to Novak to Roman Josi before the period was over. Nashville's up by a score of 5-2. Max, your thoughts after 2 periods of play?
A perfect game of Montreal Canadian hockey for tonight, Tony.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
Well, we got a Caulfield goal. We had an injury scare. I did not like that, although I am part of how do you call it? Embracing the tank? Is that how you call it?
Okay, so welcome on the bandwagon, my friend. There's plenty of room, and we accept everyone.
Of course, I'm proud to be part of the tank wagon.
Max, all kidding aside,
yeah.
After everything we've seen from Connor Bedard, okay, breaking the goal-scoring record for a Team Canada player at the World Juniors, breaking the points record for a Team Canada player at the World Juniors, still being eligible to play 2 more World Junior tournaments, and he's already broken those records, okay? He's the best player on the team. It's not even close. He's the best player of the 2005 draft class right now. And it's funny because there was an article before the World Juniors that Adam Fantilli was narrowing the gap. I'm sorry, there's nobody narrowing the gap. If anything, Connor Bedard is running away right now. It doesn't mean that Connor Bedard will end up having the best career. But right now, it's not even a discussion. It's not even close. So seeing Connor Bedard play the way he's playing, and Max, you correct me if I'm wrong, he's the best 17-year-old we've seen since either Gretzky or Lemieux. It doesn't mean he's going to have a better career than McDavid. It doesn't mean he's going to have a better career than Crosby. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is he not the best 17-year-old player you've ever seen in your lifetime?
At that tournament, he is. He definitely is. Also, I didn't know until yesterday he's the youngest player at the tournament. That's just bat damn crazy.
Yeah.
I have a very special place in my heart for Sid because I was living in Drummondville back then. So I saw him play, I think, twice at Saint-Marcel-Dionne against the Voltigeurs. And, I was, 2005, I was, 13 years old, I think,
it's
14 years old.
Max, I watched one of those games in Drummondville. I did a road trip down there at one point. I think it was in Sid's rookie year where he was 16 years old. I think Drummondville won by a score of 8-3, and I think Guillaume Latendresse picked up like 4 points and was the best player in the game.
It's funny, but we were at the same game.
Oh, really?
I worked with Guillaume a few years back. He was working at BPM, 91.9, and I had that conversation with him. And I don't remember the exact score. I think I have 6-5 in my head, but I remember that Sid had a few points. Guillaume had a few points too. So it was the perfect game. Voltigeurs won by a high score. Sid got the point. It was crazy. The place was jam-packed like I have never seen. I think they oversold, but anyways, all this to say that on a large scale, I still have a penchant for Sid. But at that tournament right now, what he is doing is absolutely mind-blowing. Just before the holidays, and I was trying, while I was preparing today to come on with you, I was trying to remember which podcast I was listening to before Christmas about prospects and all. And this guy was saying he's not generational. He's still franchise, borderline generational. And he's generational. I don't see how this guy is not generational.
Generational with a capital G, capital E, capital N, capital E, capital R, capital A, capital T, capital I, capital O, capital N, capital A, capital L.
What impresses me the most is his shot, though.
What impresses me the most is that I got it right without any spelling mistakes. Do not play me in a game of Scrabble, my friend.
I will take you in French if you don't mind, Tony. Yeah. I will not take you in English, that is for sure. But, we tend to think of centers as, playmaker above all. But those guys, generational center, Sid has a Rocket Richard trophy. McDavid's going to win one this year. He's going to score 60. And I'm not even talking about Lemieux and Gretzky, of course. He has that. That shot is absolutely nasty. It's heavy. Even though he's not the biggest guy, it's crazy.
I'll say this. You ready?
I will.
I don't think Connor Bedard's a better center than he is a winger. I think he's a better winger. The reason why I say that is because he's not great in the face-off circle. I don't think he's a great 200-point player. And if you watch the way he plays, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with what I'm going to say, okay? A lot of his scoring chances actually come because his ability to cheat and get behind the defense and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Ovechkin kind of cheats too so that he can, and he's ended up scoring like 800 and a gazillion goals. So I think when all is said and done, he's going to end up being a winger at the National Hockey League level. This is what I believe. I could be wrong, okay? I haven't seen him that much. It's just, my scouting observation after a couple of times. But you know what? Even if he is, okay, is there any doubt that the Canadians have to, and everyone knows that the players are not going to intentionally lose hockey games, right? However, the coach can do certain things. He can break up duos. He can break up a line. He can end up giving more ice time to less productive players. He can end up using, some of the players that are not overly productive a little bit more. A coach can do certain things if a general manager asks him to do. Not to mention that when a team goes spiraling down because they lose games, their confidence goes down, and they look at themselves in the standings and they say, you know what, we have no chance. And then all of a sudden they're not giving the same 100% anymore. But is there still anyone out there that doesn't think at this point a Montreal Canadiens loss is actually a win? Is there anyone out there that doesn't think, and if I hear one more time that Edmonton's never won a cup, and look at Arizona and look at Buffalo, if I hear that one more time, hey, I'm going to tell you something. Edmonton and Toronto haven't won a cup yet. No, they have not. It's not a terrible thing being a fan of the Edmonton Oilers and watching Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl play hockey. Max, it's not a terrible thing being a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs and watching Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares play hockey, is it?
No, it's not. I've been saying for a few years now that I know this is taboo in Montreal, but if you take off the logo, if you put blank black jerseys, the jerseys of the bad guys in any sports movie, generic as hell, I enjoy the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know people don't like this. I enjoy Austin Matthews. I enjoy Mitch Marner. I freaking love Willie Nylander. So I am with you 100% on this. I mean, of course, it's fun to make fun of them because they're choking every year in the playoff. But other than that, the rest, they're an amazing team to watch. They're an amazing team to watch.
Max, listen to this. Sebastian, Tony, even though you embrace the tank, are you not worried about the compete level shown in the recent losses? It's one thing to lose, but it's how you lose too. No, I'm not worried at all. And anyone who's worried about a losing culture in the last 40 games of the year, pardon me, or whatever it is, and doesn't see the long-term benefits of a Connor Bedard, of what he could bring to your organization for at least 10 years, has to be stupid. Yeah. I'm sorry. Am I worried about the way they're losing? Well, what do you mean about the way they're losing? They have 5 young players on defense. It's only normal. They're not going to win that many games. They have Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault. They're good goaltenders, but they're not great goaltenders, so they're going to lose games. They have a coaching staff that's okay. It's not great, so they're going to lose games. By the way, they just gave up another one. It's a beautiful thing. They're down by a score of 6-2. And they have a bunch of guys who know that they're going to get traded either on trade deadline day or within a couple of days before that. It's only normal they're going to give up goals. It's only normal they're going to lose games. I don't care. Look, here's the deal. The Montreal Canadiens, how many players do they have that are actually going to be here in the next couple of years? How many do they have at the forward position? Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Doc? Who else? Everyone else is replaceable. I think what's happening is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
There are two things with what you just said. When you say the people who talk about teams who drafted really high who do not win cups, and the way of losing is the way you phrased it. Do you remember how many points the Avalanche had in 2015 or 16? I think it was 48.
Yes.
McKinnon was there already. I think McCarr is the only one from the core who wasn't there already. They were historically bad.
Terrible.
One of the worst seasons of the last 25 years, and they won last year. So that doesn't scare me at all if you have strong management. Second thing, it's even less scary when you consider that whoever they draft, if it's Connor Bedard, we will be really, really happy. If it's Adam Fantilli, if it's Michkov, if it's what's his name, Carlson, the Swedish, who is pretty impressive.
I like him, by the way. I like him. I think out of all the draft-eligible players in 2005, after Bedard, the one that's made the most favorable impression, I believe anyway, from what I've seen at the World Juniors, is Carlson.
The Habs this year are in a position that is advantageous. Is that a word in English?
Yes, it is.
Excuse my English.
Ben oui, avantageux, mon chum.
They are in a very advantageous position, which is similar to where Pittsburgh were when they drafted Sid and where the Leafs were when they drafted Matthews. What I mean by this is the Pittsburgh Penguins missed the playoff 1 year after they drafted Crosby because they already had Malkin. He was not there yet, but he was in the organization. He was drafted. They had Fleury. They were going to draft Jordan Staal. Le Temps was drafted the same year. They were near the end, and they got the generational player. The Toronto Maple Leafs
4 years
already
after they drafted him, they won the cup.
Yeah, this is the best example because it's Sid and great management led by Mario Lemieux, of course. The Toronto Maple Leafs, yes, they choke in the playoff, but Austin Matthews was the last piece of the puzzle to get out of the reset, the rebuild, call it whatever you want. They already had Marner. They already had Willie. They already had Morgan Riley. The Habs, I think, might not be in the exact same position, but they're in a similar one.
If I can, and it's not to say that Toronto's not going to win a cup, because I believe that they will win a cup at some point. Okay, that's what I believe. I could be wrong, all right? Toronto made a mistake, in my opinion, all right? They had a plan like Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon has a plan. And then they saw that John Tavares went to unrestricted free agency. Yeah. They got overly excited. They deviated from their plan, and they went all in with John Tavares. In my opinion, it was a mistake.
I agree.
They still may be able to win, but they made a mistake throughout the process. It's up to the Canadiens to not deviate from the plan and not make a mistake. Having said that, I will say this. If the Canadiens finish in the bottom 3 or 4 there, and they go out and they win that draft lottery, and they draft Connor Bedard, the rebuild is over. You can start putting together the pieces to your team. It's over the rebuild, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Vas-y, mon chum.
The Habs finish bottom 4. That's where I want them to finish. Okay, I think it's going to be really, I want them to finish last, but Chicago are so far ahead or behind, whatever you want to call it. Same thing with Anaheim. I don't think you're going to finish bottom 2, even bottom 3. I want them to finish bottom 4.
So as it stands, for the benefit of those watching, Max, if I can, they are 13 points behind last place Chicago. They are 9 points behind second last place Anaheim.
Yeah. If Montreal gets 4th pick overall, and somehow the Panthers keep getting worse, get, I don't know, 7th, 8th, 9th pick overall, who disagrees to a trade? The team that has 1st overall to get Bedard, or Montreal if they offer their 2 top 10 picks for number 1?
I don't know this for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet that whoever has the number 1 pick will not trade it at any cost.
Not. Probably not.
Would you trade the number 1 pick if he's going to be Connor Bedard?
No.
I wouldn't.
I would not trade him if let's say Montreal get 2 and 3. I don't trade it. I don't trade it.
Connor Bedard.
I don't know. Do you trade it?
Connor Bedard has the potential. If he's a Montreal Canadian, he has the potential to do what Lafleur did. In terms of, and I'm not talking about winning Stanley Cups because, he's not going to win 5 Stanley Cups if he comes here, okay? The way Lafleur did in 73, 76, 77, 78, and 79. He's not going to do that. But correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Guy Lafleur scored 50 plus 6 years in a row. I think Connor Bedard can do that. I think Connor Bedard can score 50 goals 6 years in a row. His wrist shot, I don't know if I've ever seen a better wrist shot. I don't know if I've ever seen a better wrist shot.
Oh, that's interesting.
And yesterday, he's got a Matthews-esque kind of shot, but in my opinion, it's even better. It's unbelievable that and Caulfield's another example of a guy who's small and has an amazing wrist shot. But what he did last night, Max, I don't have the exact numbers, but I believe when he went out in the overtime, I believe he had a shift of well over a minute.
Oh, he did.
I think he went back to the bench for under 40 seconds. And I believe he had another shift of over 50 seconds.
Yeah.
He had no juice left in his wrist shot. He was running out of gas, but yet he was able to go around 3 guys like they weren't even there. And he's so good that if you were watching, you just knew that he was going to score. And when a player's on the ice and in a big moment, the most crucial moment, the most pressure environment moment, you know that they're going to score and they score. That's generational talent. That's what it is. That's generational talent.
I'm not willing to put him ahead of Austin right now because Austin, he's Austin Matthews, the greatest shot I've ever seen. He's the greatest wrister I have ever seen.
Yeah.
But he can get there. I believe he can get there. I'm going to watch in the next game. One thing I've always loved about Austin Matthews is how, have you ever looked, if you haven't, and the people at home, watch Austin Matthews. Most hockey players, if you're a lefty like Austin Matthews, you're going to take your wrist shot and you're going to start with the weight on your right foot and you're going to jump into the left foot going forward and take the wrister, right? Austin Matthews has perfected the opposite where he goes from the left leg to the right leg. And what this creates is it gives a better angle to the right of the defenseman if you're looking at a defenseman. And that is something that is, to me at least, it's absolutely crazy the way Austin Matthews does this. So there's this versatility to Austin's shot that I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to see more of Connor Bedard. But I'm not totally disagreeing with you on this. For a guy his size, at this age, to me, this is the biggest surprise. And I don't know if you've seen the videos of him training. You understand why he has that shot. It's absolutely crazy the time he puts into training that shot. Yeah. So, it is really interesting, and it will really, really be devastating for the goalies in the future.
Yeah, Canadians are down by a score of 6-2 with 7 minutes and 50 seconds left in regulation. Jason Teal says to say that Connor Bedard could score 50 goals 6 seasons in a row is ridiculous. Okay. So why is it ridiculous? Are you trying to tell me that within a couple of years of entering the National Hockey League, let's just say Connor Bedard from age 22 to 27 or age 23 to 28, he can't score 50 goals 6 years in a row? Look, I'm making a prediction. Chances are I'm not going to be right because the best to ever do it in terms of scoring goals, Alexander Ovechkin, has never had 6 seasons in a row with 50 goals. However, in his rookie season, he had 52. The next year, he had 46. The next year, he had 65. The next year, he had 56. And the next year, he had 50. Okay? So he almost did it 5 years in a row. 1 year, he came up 4 goals short. Now, 4 years after that, he scored 51, 53, and 50, then went down to 33. then scored 49, 51, and 48. Last year, Ovechkin scored 50. And this year, Ovechkin's on pace to score 57. Now, yes, I'm talking about the greatest goal scorer of all time. But I'm also talking about a generational player in Alexander Ovechkin, who's a winger. And I'm talking about a generational player in Connor Bedard. Now, Jason says he's not built like Ovi. Well, okay, no, he's not. Which means he doesn't have to take the punishment that Ovi takes and gives either. Cole Caulfield is not built like Ovi either. If Cole Caulfield has 22 goals thus far, Connor Bedard can't score goals in the National Hockey League.
And don't forget, goals are up lately. And it will keep going up because the NHL want the goals to go up. So It will be in a period, I think, I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to stay this way. More goal will be scored than in Ovi's era, Ovi's prime at least.
Yeah. All right. So listen, Jason says Ovechkin has barely missed a game. Well, Jason, you're right. Look, here's the deal. I'm doing a podcast. I went on. I gave a prediction. You can argue with what I said all you want right now. At the end of the day, you don't know and I don't know. Let's give it time. This kid is that good. If he does it, fantastic. If he doesn't do it, it's a prediction that went wrong. He's a generational talent, man.
Okay,
He's a generational talent.
Let me bounce back on that.
Yeah.
If Bedard comes to Montreal, can you have a 50-goal duo? When's the last 50-goal duo in the NHL? Same year.
Did McDavid and Draisaitl do it?
I don't think McDavid's done 50 yet. He's going to do it this year, but his best season is 40. I have 45 in mind. Probably Jagger and Lemieux is where I can go.
McDavid and McDavid's high was 44. You're right 44. About that. That's a really good question that you asked. Really good question that you asked.
I would guess Mario and Jaromir.
That would be for sure. 100%. That would be for sure. But something tells me that there's somebody that has done it since then. Something tells me that there's somebody that's done it since then. I'm going to say, hold on a second. Did Crosby and Malkin ever do it?
I don't think they did. Because Malkin did it the year Crosby was injured, if I'm correct. Okay, I got them all. I got every 50 season here.
Okay.
So Ovi, of course. No. Oh, we're back. No.
Uh-huh.
No, that's Teemu Selanne and Paul Kariya. Did they do it? No, it was back-to-back year.
No, they didn't do it. I don't think so. No, back-to-back year. You're probably right. It probably goes back to Lemieux and Jagger.
Yeah, it is. It's in. Wait a minute. What year is it?
Brett Hull and Brendan Shanahan.
Oh, because in 92-93, it's not even Jagger who did it. It's Kevin Stevens and Lemieux. They both did it in 93.
No, hold on a second. Lemieux and Jagger, they did it in 96. Lemieux and Jagger did it in 96. I think you're right. I think the last ones to do it were Lemieux and Jagger. But let me ask you something. Did John LeClair and Eric Lindros ever do it?
Wait a minute. Philadelphia Flyers.
I don't even know.
96.
I don't even know if Lindros ever scored 50 because he was always hurt.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
Yeah. Look, it would be hard to say that both of them would hit 50 because, look, we just went through the last 30 years ago in the National Hockey League, and it's only been done a couple of times. So it would be hard to say yes. But, look, I think everyone's to think, there's some people that thought the Canadians were going to make the playoffs. Come on. Come on. Like, there's some people thought the Canadians were making, and now Marty St. Louis is being criticized by some saying, look, he's getting exposed and this and that. What exposed? What exposed?
No,
over the next couple of years, he's got 4 forwards that are going to be here, and he's got 5 young defensemen, 2 of which who probably aren't really ready to play in the National Hockey League, who are playing right now. Just give the guy a break. He makes a few mistakes every now and then. He actually admitted one the other day. He said, I shouldn't have kept Jake Allen in goal for 9 goals against in Washington. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to learn from that because they played on Saturday, and they're playing again. They're playing again on Tuesday, and so he had some days off in between. Then he could have put in Montembeault, even though he's got Montembeault in goal. He said, "I'm going to learn from it." Very, very humble. I made a mistake. Very humble.
Yeah, and don't forget he's a young coach too. Why is it that we're so patient with young players and not with young coach in a situation like this where you can be patient? Why not be patient with him and let him learn with the players? That personally for me is why St. Louis still has his, I don't know, whatever card you want to call it, but not critics-free card because it's still okay to have critical thinking. But no, for the duration of his contract, I have no problem. Learn the curves. It's a learning process for everybody, himself included. I don't know if you got that story from our friend Marc-André Perrault today. They didn't even want to have him on
goal by Brendan Gallagher,
today.
by the way. Goal by Brendan Gallagher, yeah.
They didn't even want to have him on the. Oh my God, my heart will stop right. Sorry. Yeah, so they wanted to give him a break today, the journalist, and he said, no, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you guys. I'm not hiding. Come here, come talk to me. So, I respect that.
Yeah. No. Listen, anyone who's criticizing Marty St. Louis right now clearly has overestimated and over-evaluated this team. And Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes are really, really smart. Not to say they're perfect, because there is one thing that this year I just don't get and I don't agree with. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I believe the Montreal Canadiens made a big mistake by not sending Juraj Slafkovsky to play for Slovakia in the World Juniors. That was my opinion. It's been my opinion now ever since we've been talking about it for about a month. People that said that Slovakia was not that good, it's just, I think that's a stupid excuse anyway. And number two, in sports, any team could beat any team on any given night. And you saw yesterday, with a little bit of luck, and yes, Slovakia's goalie stood on his head, but Slovakia could have won that game the way Canada could have won by 5, by the way. And who's to say that if Slafkovsky's there, that Slovakia actually doesn't win yesterday? But I would have liked to have seen Slafkovsky elevate at the World Juniors. Now we'll never know. And instead, we have to get excited about maybe him finishing a check or getting a couple of shots on goal. I think they made a mistake. Having said all that, Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, they knew in the offseason, they knew in preseason, and they knew even at the start of the regular season that when all was said and done, this team was going to finish in the last 6 or 7. And what we're seeing right now is exactly that. Anyone who thought that it was going to be better than that, they got fooled, man. They knew. The Canadians knew.
Yeah. I'm not sure I've never been, not that I don't have an opinion on it, but I'm not that cutting on the Slafkovsky to the World Junior thing, because to me, and again, tonight I'm watching it and one of my friends just texted me, he's so soft. I think these big guys who have always been the bigger guys, the biggest thing that they have to learn in the NHL is how to still dominate while not being the biggest fish in the pond by a large margin anymore. And don't get me wrong, he's a big NHL dude. He's big even for the NHL. But now he goes in the corner and it's Victor Edmond. Now he goes in the corner and even the third pair defenseman, who is a big dude, is nasty. He has to learn all about this. Aaron Ekblad had the same learning curve. He won the Rookie of the Year his first year, but then after that, it took him a few years because it's the same thing. I remember Aaron Ekblad at the World Junior. The guy is like 4 or 5 years younger than me, and I was in my mid-20s when he was in the World Junior, and he looked 10 years older than me. He was a man. Félix Auger-Aliassime in tennis had something similar in the juniors. He was the best in the world. Why? He was already 6'3". He was already a man. So to me, Slafkovsky needs to learn to play with men. So I'm not so sure if he needs to do it with the junior.
To your buddy, he's not soft. He's a kid.
He's soft.
He hasn't filled into his body yet. The body is there, but Slafkovsky in 3 or 4 years is going to be a tank. I hope people realize that he's going to be a tank.
I think he will. It's just, you need to learn. You need to learn that. You know, And I'm sorry if I said that last time at your podcast, because sometimes I mix what I saw on the radio and
no, don't worry about it. Yeah, what did you say?
I think sometimes as hockey fans, we need to switch the narrative. You know how we're like, oh, we're so scared for Cole Caulfield because he's small. And I have this argument. My dad is convinced that Cole Caulfield is probably dead at age 25 because, oh my God, he's so small. And of course, my dad is old school, so pardon him.
Yeah.
But Cole Caulfield has been told and has been the smallest guy on the ice since he was 6 years old. He has always been the smallest guy. So he knows whatever level he plays at, he's the smallest guy on the ice. So he knows that he needs to protect himself. Big guys.
Not only that, Max, he's exercised his brain so that he actually scans the entire ice.
Exactly.
He does that better than anyone. So for that, I bet he'll have more longevity than anybody else.
I agree with you. Whereas sometimes we see big guys like Slafkovsky coming in and we're salivating, and it's normal. The guy is 18 years old and he is 6'4", 220. That's crazy. And we're salivating. We're like, oh, he's going to physically dominate right away. No, he won't. He won't because he has not learned how to be just another big guy on the ice with 9 other big guys on the ice. He has always been bigger than everybody. People try to hit him, they bounce on him. People don't bounce on you if they try to hit you in the NHL. Even Francis Bouillon would kill him right now at 5'4" because he's a tank at 5'4". He has not played with those type of competition yet.
Yeah. Well, you catch those players with their head down for sure, 100%. It's 6-3 for the Nashville Predators. They're out shooting the Canadiens 34-26, and there's a minute left in regulation. This road trip is going to be over in just about a minute for the Canadiens. And then they'll come back and they'll host the New York Rangers on Thursday night. And you know what usually happens the first game back from a long road trip. Mind you, this road trip was kind of split in half because they had games on the road and then they came back during the holiday season for 4 days off. And then they went back to Tampa and then they played Florida the next night. And then a couple of nights later, they played again. And now they're playing again. But it was obviously not a great road trip for the Montreal Canadiens, but
it is a great road trip.
If you want the chances on your side, for me, it's a fantastic road trip.
It's amazing.
Yeah, really.
I love that road trip.
Yeah. Hey, they've given up a lot of goals, eh? They've given up a lot of goals in the last 3 games.
Last time I was with you, Tony, that is one of the things I was saying. Early in the season, both Jake Allen and Sam Montembeault were in the top 10 for goal save above expected. Top 10. And I love Sam Montembeault. He is not a top 10 goalie in the NHL. So just that was going to go back to normal, which it is right now. And we talked also about strength of schedule, and we're starting to see this right now. You know what? I can't wait to see the Boston Bruins.
But this was the toughest part of the schedule, though. Don't you agree? From December 17th, starting with hosting Tampa, to January 5th, ending with hosting the Rangers. This, I believe, is the toughest 3 weeks of their schedule that we're going to see all season.
Their only win in this was the Coyotes in overtime, so that's great. That's perfect.
They picked up a point versus Colorado, did they not? I think so.
They did. Yeah, you're right. They did. They lost in OT to Colorado.
And by the way, they should have lost in Arizona.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
they totally should have lost.
They didn't play well. They didn't play well.
I agree with you on that. I totally agree with you on that. But one guy who I'm not during the holidays, I did not watch the game with the same focus as I usually do. And so tonight I was curious about Justin Barron, and I did not like what I saw from Justin Barron tonight, to be honest. I expected a bit more with the way he was playing in the AHL. I don't know if it's just the speed of the NHL right now. You saw the second goal.
Yeah.
I hope he's not that type of guy who never is able to catch that fraction of a second. Let's give him time, because I think the guy has a really, really great combination of skill set and size.
He's not NHL ready, though, Max. Max, il est pas prêt, Max. Il est pas prêt. He loses his guys a lot. His guys get behind them, and even when he holds on to his guy, or he hangs on to his guy, or he's close to his guy, if it becomes a battle, he doesn't win that battle either. He's just not ready yet. Now, can he skate? Yes. But Barron's problem, he doesn't have an X factor. There's nothing he does very, very good. He does a lot of good things, nothing very good.
Okay, but I think that's interesting, because Do you think Jordan Harris has one thing he does really, really good? Does he have an X factor? Maybe skating?
No, he doesn't. But everything he does a little bit better than Barron. Kovacevic doesn't have an X factor either, but he's more reliable than Barron. Yeah. Everything he does is a notch better. Don't you agree?
I do. But here's the thing, though, why I ask you that question is I think what could be good for Barron is, there are, and it's okay. It's not a diss at Justin Barron or anything. The dicton, too many Chiefs, not enough Indian. Yes. Everybody can be a Chief. And the Habs have their Chiefs on defense. Caden Goulet is going to be a Chief.
Of course.
Jordan Harris, that's why I asked the question. I don't think he does one particularly thing great. One thing that he has that I think is great, though, is that guy, to me, from the outside, looks like a leader of men. He looks like a guy who is poised. I would say his poise is not a lead, but is something that stands up. Whereas Justin Barron, I think, is in a situation that Jonathan Drouin should have been in his career in Montreal. Those type of guys who don't need to be the guy. They need to be behind another guy. So that is what gives me confidence, is that Montreal already have their on defense. I think they already have the guys that need to be the leaders. They are there, and he just need to find his way and be one of a good partner for one of these guys.
Yeah, by the way, difficult night for Joel Edmundson tonight, who played 17 minutes and 12 seconds and was a -3 on the night. So tough night for Joel Edmundson. Tough
season. Tough season. Really.
Yeah,
honestly,
he's been exposed quite a bit, eh?
Look, I hate to say it because the guy, he's younger than me. I always forget that because he's the type of guy who looks like 38 or something, and he's 29.
Yeah.
I think the guy is done. As the player we signed the playoffs in 2021, the back injury that he had, to me, I think is a career killer. I think that in not so long from now, we'll be out of the league because we will learn that this injury killed his career.
Wow.
He really is. He has lost a step.
That's an interesting opinion that you have there, because I don't think he's done. But then again, I don't know the status of his back. I just think wrong kind of player for this kind of coach and what they're trying to do.
Maybe. If he's not out, it's because he needs to be on a third pair now. He needs to be protected. He needs to be on a third pair, and he needs a guy who can skate beside him.
Yeah. David Savard looked good when he was in Tampa because they put him on a third pair, right?
Exactly.
If this guy would be on a third pair on a team that can actually go to the playoffs and contend for the cup, I think he'll be good. But then again, look, you could be right, because once the back flares up, out of all the injuries, man, the back is the toughest, because sometimes you can do all the stretching, all the rehab, all the physio, all the osteo, all the chiropractor, all the acupuncture, all the dry needling in the world, and you can't fix your back. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, it really does.
And if he can't fix his back, then he's the only one, by the way, on the blue line who's a -3 tonight, -1 for Justin Barron, and the rest, Wideman was even. Jordan Harris was +1. David Savard, who was back in the lineup, was +1. And Arbor Jacki was even. The minutes, Jordan Harris is the one who played the second most after David Savard, who played 23:03. Harris plays 20:34. And then it was Edmundson at 17:12. Barron at 16:54. Jacki at 16:50. And Chris Wideman at 14:47. Not a great night for Samuel Montembeault, who gives up 6 goals on the night on 34 shots, and his save percentage tonight is .824. Pas bon, ça.
Jean-Maurice on the chat says Savard was awful tonight. Did you think he was awful? I was glad
for the first game back. I didn't think he was awful.
Me neither.
I thought he was okay. I'll tell you who I thought was really good was Cole Caulfield, who had 6 shots on goal in 19 minutes and 17 seconds tonight. I thought Caulfield was really good. And you know what? Pezzetta brings more to the team than Armia.
Yeah, that's why I want to see Armia in. I was disappointed with Armia out. And fun fact, I used to be a really big Yoel Armia guy, but the way he's playing this season, keep the guy in. We need him. We need him, Tony.
You need him for the tank, right?
Exactly.
That's what you're getting at.
Just keep him in. Just keep him in.
Hey, this has been a lot of fun. Merci beaucoup. What's going on with you?
Coming back on radio tomorrow. Yeah, back at BPM tomorrow, 1:30 to 3:30. The show is called L'Estrade, and it's an interactive show just like yours, Tony. You're the legend. You're the one who brought it in Montreal, and we're trying to do good as an interactive show with the people. So 1:30 to 3:30, if you understand French and you like sports with a lot of humor and pop culture reference, come at 91.9 and we'll have a lot of fun.
Hey, thank you, mon chum. Merci beaucoup. The message is out there, and I hope you can watch. I hope you can listen to Max once again at BPM Sport 91.9 on your FM dial out of Montreal. Weekdays, 1:30 to 3:30. There you have it. Salut, mon chum. Bonne nuit.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, thank you. Maxime Van Houtte. It's now time for You Called, but you know what? I think I'm going to get to comments tonight because there are so many comments, but let's call it You Called for now.
You called. Presented by Playground.
Your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. And tonight we're going to call this segment maybe You Messaged or You Text, because I'm seeing so many messages and Sammy's telling me we have so many messages. Sammy Cavallaro and Agnello Cavallaro back at Master Control. Bring up the messages. Awe parla. Let's go. This coming in from Lonnie Demas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tony, when the Habs lose this bad, does it lessen the trade value of the players they want to trade, or do GMs understand that the team is what it is and would be willing to give the Habs what they want for a player? Thanks. I think it's a combination of both. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Next. Junior Rav 08 says, do you think they will give 2 first-round picks to trade up for first overall? I think the team that has first overall is not trading the pick. Next. Tony Slafkovsky loses the puck every time he touches it. It's unreal for a first overall pick. No, it's not. There's a lot of first overall picks who lost the puck a lot at 18 years old. Joe Thornton played on the 4th line and picked up 7 points in 55 games. And believe you me, he lost the puck a lot. But when he filled into his body and filled into that frame and got experience, he was a number 1 centerman for 15 years in the National Hockey League. I'm not worried. Now, is he a generational player? No. Is he a franchise player? I don't think so either. But he's going to end up being a Rantanen kind of player for the Canadians. And if you're worried, oh my God, they should have drafted Shane Wright. I'm going to tell you right now, Shane Wright's not impressing me, man. Like he's not impressing me. He's playing on the same team as Connor Bedard, and he looks like it's unbelievable. I don't even know that Shane Wright's playing in this tournament. It's not good. I mean, Shane Wright's not looking good right now. Not at all. Next. I wouldn't worry about Slafkovsky. Put this in your head. It was not a good draft. And in the end, you know what? Maybe then the best picks ended up being Nemec and Voracek, and maybe that's Juracek. And maybe that happens when it's not a great draft for forwards. And sometimes it ends up being it's defensemen who are leading the way. And I have to tell you, Nemec and Juracek look great, but I'm not giving up on Slafkovsky. In 3 or 4 years, when this kid fills into his body, MJV, I think for the first time since the new management took over, they messed up not sending Slav to the World Juniors. What could they possibly have to lose for a couple of weeks? I agree with you. I think they thought he could learn more here, and I think it was a missed opportunity. I think they dropped the ball. And you know what? Pretty reasonable people. I think they probably realized that they probably didn't make a mistake. I'd love to ask them about it one day, because I bet you that if they actually think that they did, I bet you they're the type of people who would actually admit that they made a mistake. Just like Marty St. Louis will tell you when he makes mistakes behind the bench, I bet you that Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes would be willing to say that they made a mistake at the management level. I believe they made a mistake. I take a look at what Slafkovsky's done ever since the World Juniors started up until now, and I think the Canadians easily could have deprived themselves of 3 weeks or 4 weeks of Juraj Slafkovsky. And I don't even remember when was the last time he picked up a point. 7 games ago, 8 games ago? When was it? I don't know. It seems like it's been a long time. I think in those 7 or 8 games, I think he's like got 3 shots and doesn't have a point. I don't know. It's could be wrong here, but I stopped counting at one point, but it's not good. All right, next. But I'm okay with it, by the way. What do you think the chances are of Pierre-Luc Dubois being a Hab next year? Well, it all depends on whether or not they're able to draft a player that's going to end up being a centerman. If they draft Leo Carlson, I don't think they're going after Pierre-Luc Dubois. If they draft Fantilli, I don't think they're going after Pierre-Luc Dubois. If they draft Dvorsky, I don't think they're going after Pierre-Luc Dubois. By the way, Fantilli I'm not overly impressed with what I've seen at the World Juniors. Now, one tournament won't break a player, but I'm not overly impressed. Next. Not sure if Fantilli's number 2 at this point. Without being a draft expert, I think right now, today, Bedard's number 1 and Leo Carlson is number 2. That's what I think. Next. But I could be wrong. The only thing that is a team built around Bedard, Caulfield, and Suzuki will be too small to win. I don't buy that. I don't buy this too small, to this, to that. Back in the day, yes, the Canadians were small and they didn't have enough size. Today, hockey's played a different way. It's played with speed. It's played with pace. Talent takes over. And the second you put your stick on somebody or interfere with somebody who's small, you're going to the penalty box. National Hockey League wants goals to be up. Now, can you win in the playoffs by being small? Look, Suzuki, by the way, doesn't play small. Neither does Caulfield. I get it, though. They're small. One's 5'11", one's 5'7". I get it. Just surround these guys with big guys. And you know what? They're going to be surrounded by a Kirby Doc. They're going to be surrounded by a Josh Anderson. They're going to be surrounded by a Juraj Slafkovsky. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I want to take this opportunity, by the way, to wish Kelly a very happy birthday. Happy birthday, Kelly. And thanks for watching, listening, and all your support over the last little while here. We appreciate it. It's Kelly's birthday. And if you're wondering who Kelly is, if you're following on YouTube Live, there's only one Kelly. There's only one Kelly. Oh, by the way, a shout out to, hold on a second here. Let me go to it. Wendy. Shout out to Wendy, who says that her and her husband watch the podcast all the time. They're from Toronto, and they're going to be coming to Montreal next week. And they'd like to know if they could actually meet me for a coffee or for lunch or whatever. And I said, sure, I'd love to meet you and your husband. So to Wendy and her husband, I also say, hello, how you doing? I'll see you next week. Back to the comments. What did you think about Massar? He set up a really, really nice goal yesterday. He's got playmaking ability as a winger. And I think that one day he's going to be on a line with Slafkovsky, if Slafkovsky isn't going to be on a line with Suzuki and Caulfield. And anyway, you know what? Massar's got a future in Montreal. I think he's going to be a good player for the Canadians. How many goals? I don't know. But you know what? He'll be a top 9 for sure. Next. What do you think of possibility that my Rangers would trade with Montreal for Lafreniere? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because I would imagine the price to pay is going to be high. And you know what? He's going to be out of his entry-level contract at the end of this year. He's going to end up probably signing a bridge. He'll probably end up going, up $3 million a year. And then after that, the bridge is a couple of years. And then he's going to be ready for the long-term deal. The Canadians aren't. I wouldn't do it just yet. Look, it all depends. At the end of the day, it all depends on what the price to pay is, right? If the price to pay isn't much, well, then obviously you take a chance on Lafreniere, who's clearly better than what he's demonstrated so far at the National Hockey League. But if they want a top pick in the draft, or if they want that top pick in the draft, thanks, but no thanks. You're going to have to work out another deal if you want that to happen. If they want Josh Anderson and another pick for Alexis Lafreniere, no problem. Done. They want the Canadians' first pick in the draft, not happening. Next. Do you think management should also be looking for a future goalie? Of course they should. This coming in from Maiolo, Montreal. That's my buddy Giovanni Maiolo, who makes eggplant fritters, it's basically eggplant fried, rolled up into a meatball, and with a very, very hot melted gorgonzola cheese on top. And every time I go to his restaurant, I eat that eggplant fritter like I'm going to the electric chair like 10 minutes later. And last time he was on, because he gave us a call, I think he offered to send me some. Giovanni, don't go out of your way. But the more you send, the better it is. I'm a big fan. Give him a 5-star rating, by the way you would give the Sick Podcast a 5-star rating. By the way, do you know that I got a 3-star rating? My last rating on Google, Apple, or Spotify, I got a 3-star rating. You want to know why? Because someone said that he loves the podcast, but he's sick and tired of me talking about my looks. At the beginning, he thought it was funny, but now I brought it up so many times that it's not funny anymore. So because of that, so he loves the podcast, but because I make jokes about my looks that I'm good looking, he actually gave me a 3-star review instead of a 5-star review. You know what? I realize I can't please everyone. Really, I do. But if your only knock on the podcast is that I talk about my looks and I talk about my hair or my bluish green eyes, and you're willing to knock off 2 stars because of that, like that's cheap. Like that's not cool. Like what I would think is this is fair. You put a 5-star review and you say, I love the podcast. I really don't care for Tony talking about his looks. But at the end of the day, the content is what I want it to be. The interviews are what I want. The passion is there. The energy is there. The chat is there. The fan engagement is there. So, but Tony, if you can, talk less about your looks. And then we're cool. But to write that you love my podcast, but you don't think it's funny anymore that I talk about my looks and you give me 3 stars, very unfortunate. You know that 3-star rating really affects like a lot of things down the line. I was very disappointed, by the way. It actually broke my heart and ruined my day. As a matter of fact, I think it already ruined my 2023, and 2023 just started. Now, obviously, when I talk about my looks, like I'm playing around. You know what I mean? Like just, my God. He took away 2 stars, man. Took away 2 stars. So, you know, if this hits home now, if you're listening to this and you're saying, holy geez, I mean, that's not cool. The guy took away 2 stars. Go to Google Podcast or Apple Podcast or Spotify Podcast. And when it asks you for a review, leave a 5-star and mention what you like about the podcast. Thank you. Leaving 5 stars goes a long way because this 3-star review, it's like kind of affected in a very negative way my life. I'm very disappointed about it, very upset about it. Next. Would you trade Slafkovsky for Lafreniere 1-for-1? No, I wouldn't. Now, you see, unlike several others in the business who wouldn't answer that question because in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years from now, they might end up looking stupid with their answer. Here, we don't run away on the Sick Podcast with Marinaro. We don't run away. We don't run. We don't hide. We face the music. You ask me a question, I give you my opinion. If I look good, I look good. If I look like an idiot in due time, it won't be the first time, and it's not going to be the last. But we're not going to run. You know those shows where no one gives you an opinion? Well, I like this, but I don't like that. I think this could be good, but I think that could be bad. Oh, what do you think of this? Well, I think this is good. I think this is bad. No, but if you had to say one thing, what would it be? No, it's a little bit of this, a little bit. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. That's other place. That's other. We don't do that here. Here, we give you an opinion, right or wrong. We give it to you. That's it. That's all. Away par là. I'm Marination. Are we taking any more comments or what? What's the story here? We'll take 1 more or 2 more. What do you think of signing Jacob Vrana? He's got talent. Yes. And he's got an ability to score goals, and he's got a good wrist shot. But I think they're going to have several of those players going forward. Now, at the same time, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens at the draft. And we'll see if the Montreal Canadiens are going to play the free agency game. Usually at free agency, you overspend. That's what you usually do. You overspend. And when you're on a matrix treadmill, usually you're burning calories. MatrixHomeFitness.ca. I want to give them a shout out. Bring it home. Discover a club quality workout in the comfort of your own home. Visit MatrixHomeFitness.ca. My cousin called me today. She did a FaceTime with me. She said she's going to get some gym equipment. I said, Matrix, the way to go. Matrix Home Fitness. I said, bring it home. I did. My kids are really taking it to another level. I wish I could take it to their level, but who knows? Maybe one day. And maybe one day, Connor Bedard will be a Hab. My God. For Connor Bedard to be a Hab, I don't know. I would do anything. I would do anything. What's it going to take? Connor Bedard to be a Hab. My buddy Matt O'Hayan, who's usually hosts the Sick Podcast on Friday nights, who, by the way, this Friday, he won't be there. I'm filling in. He calls me today. Yeah, Tony, yeah, I want to let you know Friday is my birthday. Matt, take the night off. Oh, really? I said, Matt, that's why you're calling me, right? You're calling to tell me that it's your birthday. You want to go? Matt, take the night off, man. It's your birthday, right? Now, very unfortunately, when it was my birthday on Wednesday, November 23rd, he didn't fill in for me. But you know what? I thought it would be a great birthday present to actually be in your company. If I would have gone out for my birthday and not worked, I have more fun with you, all of you on the chat here on YouTube Live, on Twitter Live, on Facebook Live. I have more fun with you. So I'm going to be in on Friday night, by the way. Hey, by the way, tomorrow night, for the first time ever on the Sick Podcast, we're bringing you a 3-person roundtable. That's right. Myself and Marc-André Perreault, who's a regular on Wednesdays. And because we were off on Monday because of the holidays, we came back tonight on Tuesday. That means we skipped over Eric Engels of Sportsnet. And so we're going to get Eric on tomorrow with Marc-André Perreault and myself, a 3-person roundtable tomorrow. How does that sound? Sound pretty good? I think so. On that note, I say good night. The Montreal Canadiens lost by a score of 6-3. They are currently, let's do this over here. Let's take a look at the standings one more time. As we speak, the Montreal Canadiens are 27th out of 32, just 2 points up on Arizona, who have 2 games in hand, 2 points up on San Jose, who have played a game more, and 9 points up on Columbus, who have 2 games in hand, and then 9 points up on Anaheim, who have played the same amount of games, and 13 points up on Chicago, who have 2 games in hand. Hey, if Chicago and Columbus would win their 2 games in hand, all of a sudden, it's going to be much tighter. Tomorrow night, the Canadiens are off. They don't play. On Thursday night, they host the New York Rangers. And I'll be cheering for the red, white, and blue of the New York Rangers, of course. Tony, would you wear a Leafs jersey for a year to draft Connor Bedard? This coming in from Mike Metzloff. Mike, I'll do more than that. I'll do whatever. If the Canadiens can draft, listen to me. I've been talking about the Montreal Canadiens either on radio, television, or on social media here for the last 20 years. There have been talented players. No one comes in with the reputation or the pedigree of this kid. This kid produces points at a level better than Connor McDavid for a 17-year-old. He is the best 17-year-old player I've seen since Gretzky and Lemieux. Better than McDavid, better than Crosby, better than Ovechkin. It doesn't mean he'll have a better career than them. So before you start taking to social media, Marinaro said that Connor Bedard's going to have a better career than Ovechkin, or he's going to have a better career than Crosby, he's going to have a better career than Connor McDavid. I didn't say that. I'm not willing to go that far just yet. What I will tell you is he's the best 17-year-old I've seen since Gretzky or maybe even Lemieux. That's it. That's all. I said that a couple of weeks ago. I stand by it today more than ever. And those who were saying, yeah, but let me see him do it versus a good team. Now you can't say anything now. This kid is sick. Like me. And like the podcast. Tell your friends about it. And leave me a 5-star review on Google, Apple, or Spotify. The guy took away 2 stars because I talk about my looks. And by the way, I am good looking. I'm Marination. Have a good night. Ciao, ciao. Habs lose. Feels like a win.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different, 8.6, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.